defensive tackle. The Gators bring in, a lot of help for that position. Let's see. Let's work through this list right now. Cam Jackson, obviously the transfer from Memphis, a guy 6'6", 371 pounds, comes in as a junior, is your expected starter there. No real doubt about it. Desmond Watson, a guy that I know a lot of fans are rooting for, 6'5", 439 pounds. Caleb Banks also transfers from Louisville. Any other names? Jamari Lyons, I know, is a guy that's playing defensive tackle as well. But any additional thoughts? Jalen Humphreys is also a guy that has slated to play that role. And Chris McClellan, I think, is he working? I know he's working inside. I know he's worked a little bit of outside too. But give us your thoughts on the defensive tackle group.
Yeah, I think you got a really solid four with Banks and Cam Jackson starting. McClellan, Des Watson behind them. I think Will Norman will get a bunch of playing time this year as well. Those are five guys, and you're not going to have to ask Desmond Watson to play, the 360 snaps he played last year. I think Jamari Lyons is getting a lot of praise from the coaching staff. But you've got some guys there now, and it's not to the point where Georgia running, like their hockey line changes and just running out a whole new group of 5-star defensive line. But the depth, I think, is going to help Florida, because we talk about third down a lot, but you're losing on first down, you're losing on second down, because you got guys who are playing their 45th snap of the game, 50th snap of the game in the fourth quarter. I think it'll help to get a healthy rotation with McClellan, Norman, Watson, Banks, and Cam Jackson. You would have had Tyreek Sapp there, and he can still go back and forth depending on how the other guys are helping there. So there's a ton of depth inside, and that's just simply the transfer portal and the recruiting class. So those are all those guys that we're mentioning there, like Billy Napier's guys. And that's a position group that I think is in a totally different place heading into this season than it was last year.
The whole front seven, man, just flips of both rooms, all rooms. And I think the hit rate is going to be very good with the transfers that they brought in. Not a lot of fluff and a lot of just, people taking up schollies here. But, yeah, Desmond Watson getting less reps and not being a guy we rely on for starter snaps is going to be major key. This year, if he scribble fumble, he may take it to the crib. He may be, fresh. He may stiff.
We'd love to see it.
Take that thing to the house a little bit, bro. Looking like Fred Taylor in that 21. Seeing Will Norman, him beside Chris McClellan this past weekend, seeing how big he is as a freshman, and hearing that, he's a guy that we could get some reps out of. We don't have to rely on the young boy, but he definitely could jump into that rotation and provide us some snaps as well. But, our starters are two guys that wasn't on campus last year. That's just huge. Gervon went on to the pros, and Desmond gets to get less reps. So it's just, a lot of wealth at that position. And that's going to be key to getting wins. When we go out to Utah and the altitude's a little different, the guys may get a little winded, who knows. But I think we'll have the depth in the right positions in the trenches to be able to stay fresh and do what we need to do, man. But absolute upgrade at the defensive line, the whole defensive line, but defensive tackles is just a lot of wealth.
Yeah. You guys hit the nail on the head. There's just not much of a better opportunity that you have to be a good, strong defense and to be able to rotate out some defensive tackles and not rely on the same two for a majority of the game. They're doing a lot of work, putting a lot of work in each and every play. They're getting beat up. They're getting pushed down. They're getting winded. So to be able to have a group of four that you can steadily rely on and then, be able to add in a fifth, those are the differences, right? Florida lost a lot of one-score games last year, and maybe if you have some additional push, you wear down the other team's offensive line a little bit more, maybe a couple of those games get flipped and turn into wins. So, they say the SEC is one in the trenches, so, Florida is definitely upgraded on the defensive line, and the offensive line, at least that top five looks solid. Now it's just a matter of health and, seeing this team all put it together here. So,
And I think these defensive tackles also is going to cause havoc with moving pockets. You know, quarterbacks won't be able to get comfortable and sit still. I think we got some guys with some get off with Caleb Banks and Cam Jackson that can also pass rush and not just, you know, take up space in the run game. Because that's a lot of what Desmond Watson is. He's suited to take up just blockers and let the linebackers roam free a little bit. But now we got some defensive tackles that's going to crush, you know, pockets, you know, change the launch point for quarterbacks. They're going to have to move around a little bit more. And then, you know, we got Uber Nealon and some monsters off the edge. So, overall, it's just going to change our whole defensive look. And that's just how important defensive tackle is.
Yeah, while we look this up, I'm going to look up last year because I know Florida did not get much in way of a ton of what they call havoc. Pro Football Focus does. I'll see if I can find this. That's certainly something that Florida's going to want to do. And now defensive tackle is probably never going to be a position that, you know, gets a ton of snaps and their presence is felt in other ways on the defense. But if I remember correctly, and I'll see if I can pull it up quickly. If not, we'll talk about it next week. But one of, you know, the issues that Florida was having last year was, they were 95th in the country last year with havoc. And that's trying to, you know, get after the quarterback and force them to make quicker decisions. So defensive tackle really struggled last year in terms of doing that. And it's not necessarily just the quality of person that was in the role. Obviously, Gervon Dexter gets drafted high in the NFL draft, and Desmond Watson does what he had to, but there's no depth there. They weren't fresh, and obviously it's going to wear and tear. So being able to have this group of 4 or 5 that go in, I'm super excited about Cam Jackson, as I think most fans are. So we're, you know, excited to see what this group is, but this could be probably the most improved group, I think, over last year as a whole. So let's see here. Any final thoughts before we get into this Utah game a little bit?
Nah. Let's talk about Utah.
All right. So quick question here while we pull it up. Kind of a tricky question because you can't necessarily take position out, but Isaac Earl said best 5 DBs are on the field at once, regardless of position. Who are you choosing?
Oh, like 5 corners at this point, probably.
Say what?
Probably 5 corners at this point. If you're going with our best 5 DBs, who I think is probably going to be the top of our cornerback room, and that's just a lot to be proven from the safety position. Just not hearing okay things, but not, you know, the guys in our cornerback room, I think, are NFL Sunday guys, you know, on the 2 deep alone. You know, you're going to get Sunday guys. So I would just go, of course, our 3 top guys, Jason Marshall, Jalen Kimber, Devin Moore. And then you get into Jakeem Jackson and Dijon Mustard. Dijon, that's my 5 right there. It's hard for me to pick a safety right now, just going off the track record and what I'm hearing. I just got to see and hear more. But those are my 5. You just can't throw corners at safety like that. So,
Nick?
Yeah, I was trying to think. I wouldn't put a safety in the group, but then are you ready to already say like Jakeem Jackson is in that? Dijon's in that. Maybe I'd throw 1 safety or star and add Jaden Hill or Jadarius Perkins. Throw one of them in there.
That's nasty work.
That's nasty work.
All right, so